Well, Jimmy Kimmel returns the late night and declares liberals finally hate censorship. We're going to watch a bit of his monologue. It's quite interesting, actually. I think he did a pretty good job with it. But this is what, let's go ahead and watch some of it.
Maybe most of all, I want to thank the people who don't support my show and what I believe, but support my right to share those beliefs anyway. People who I never would have imagined, like Ben Shapiro, Clay Travis, Candace Owens, Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, even my old pal Ted Cruz, who, believe it or not, said something very beautiful on my behalf.
I hate what Jimmy Kimmel said. I am thrilled that he was fired.
Oh, wait, no, not that. The other part.
But let me tell you, if the government gets in the business of saying,
what you
we
can
don't
and can't
like
say
what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like, that will end up bad for conservatives.
I don't think I've ever said this before, but Ted Cruz is right. He's absolutely right. This affects all of us, including him. I mean, think about it. If Ted Cruz can't speak freely, then he can't cast spells on the Smurfs. Even though I don't agree with many of those people on most subjects, some of the things they say even make me want to throw up. It takes courage for them to speak out against this administration, and they did, and they deserve credit for it, and thanks. For telling their followers that our government cannot be allowed to control what we do and do not say on television, and that we have to stand up to it. I've been hearing a lot about what I need to say and do.
I just want to point out, I mean, the beauty of it is that there were so many conservatives who held firm to the values that they've had, even through liberal censorship from 2016 onward. And that is, we believe in free speech and the government should not be getting involved. The government should not be pressuring. So he's saying, oh, good for them for standing up to the administration. They were just standing for the value of free speech. And that is something that was really, really shocking that didn't happen from really any liberals. I think maybe the only one that I could think of is Bill Maher. Maybe Bill Maher was like the only liberal that actually said, hey, why can't we say what we want to say? But other than that, and then of course, I take that back. There were actually a lot of liberals, people who maybe would be considered liberal, who said, hey, what about all this censorship? But the problem was any liberal who said that and said, I don't like any of this censorship, were cast out of the liberal circle. I mean, they just could not be considered liberals anymore. No one's casting out Ben Shapiro and Ted Cruz from conservative circles. But liberals were ostracized if they took the other side. And, that's something that I hope liberals are learning from. I hope that from this experience, from Jimmy Kimmel's experience and all the liberals that watch a show, I hope that they see from, this monologue of him coming back, I hope that they see that conservatives stand up for free speech and that liberals should as well, even though they are right now when it comes to Jimmy Kimmel, but will they consistently?
Tonight. And the truth is, I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side.
Should he have to apologize for this? Because if he were a conservative getting canceled and then able to come back, conservatives say, don't apologize. Don't apologize for it. Because all you do is validate their attempts to censor you. So, I mean, if we're going to say to conservatives, don't apologize because you're just going to feed into the liberals and you're just showing that you cave, then should he have to apologize for this? I personally, when I listened to his monologue, I didn't hear anything that I felt like was over the top offensive. I just didn't. I heard the way, a lot of liberals didn't like Charlie Kirk. Fine, fair enough. I mean, I didn't hear anybody there certainly were people wishing him dead, but as far as his monologue went, I didn't hear that. I heard him bringing it up and talking about how conservatives were using it. I just didn't hear. I don't understand exactly what happened. I'm still confused on exactly what he said, why he was canceled, why so many. Except for it just doesn't make sense to me the same way it didn't make sense to me when liberals were doing it. It's kind of the same thing.
Who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't.
Yeah, no matter who shot him, no matter who you think shot Charlie Kirk, whether it was the actual kid that they've caught or somebody else entirely or a group, he is right. Whoever shot him was a sick individual or sick. Whoever pulled that trigger was a sick individual who believed violence was the way to censor and silence people. And that person was wrong, no matter their motivation.
And also, selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject. But I don't want to make this about me and I know this is what people say when they make things about them, but I really don't. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
Yeah! That's right. And we have to remember that. And we cannot allow ourselves to reel into the space where we want censorship. We demand it because we think that the people speaking are immoral. And that's always where it comes from. It comes from a place of we think you're deeply immoral, and so you're not allowed to say these immoral things.
I've had the opportunity to meet and spend time with comedians and talk show hosts from countries like Russia, countries in the Middle East, who tell me they would get thrown in prison for making fun of those in power, and worse than being thrown in prison. They know how lucky we are here. Our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country. And that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Steven off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's not legal. That's not American. That is un-American, and it is so dangerous.
Now, where Jimmy Kimmel is lucky is that the vast majority of major cities in this country are liberal. And so they've put him back on the air because the big cities are liberal and they want the liberal guy back. But if he were a conservative and he said something, if he said the exact same thing, but it was about a liberal and he was a conservative, these liberal cities would not be putting him back on the air. I don't think so. And they didn't when it came to conservatives. They just censored and silenced. So he is lucky that most major cities in America are liberal and they demanded him back.
I want you to think about this. Should the government be allowed to regulate which podcasts the cell phone companies and Wi-Fi providers are allowed to let you download to make sure they serve the public interest? You think that sounds crazy? No! 10 years ago, this sounded crazy. Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC, telling an American company, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, and that these companies can find ways to change conduct and take action on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead, in addition to being a direct violation of the First Amendment, is not a particularly intelligent threat to make in public. Ted Cruz said he sounded like a mafioso. Although, I don't know, if you want to hear a mob boss make a threat like that, you have to hide a microphone in a deli and park outside in a van with a tape recorder all night long. This genius said it on a podcast. Brendan Carr is the most embarrassing Carr Republicans have embraced since this one. And that's saying something. The FCC has a tradition of meddling where they shouldn't under many administrations, but it wasn't always like this. There was an FCC commissioner back in 2022 who worked under Joe Biden who was spot on. He wrote, "President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. That's why people in influential positions have always targeted it for censorship." You know who wrote that? FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr.
I mean, and that just goes to show the hypocrisy, right? It's like when the other side does it, we don't like it. When my side does it, I like it and I champion it. And that's the hypocrisy that we really, really, really need to avoid. And my hope is with Jimmy Kimmel being a liberal and him having a liberal audience and them hearing and seeing this, that they're opening up their eyes and minds again towards censorship and being against it.
Was appointed chairman of the FCC by this former crusader for free speech.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down.
That was also in 2022. And I wonder, how did that guy turn into this guy?
Who would you like to see replace Kimmel on late night?
Well, a lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent. Kimmel he was fired, he had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent. And more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings. But he had no ratings.
Well, I do tonight. You almost have to feel sorry for him. He did his best to cancel me. Instead, he forced millions of people to watch the show. That backfired bigly. He might have to release the Epstein files to distract us from this now.
Okay. I wish he would have spent a bit of time. I mean, he was kind of pointing out the hypocrisy of the right, because the right was championing free speech and against and against the liberal censorship for so long. And he pointed out some of that hypocrisy, pointed out those who were consistent in it, but also pointed out some of the hypocrisy. I wish that he would have also pointed out the hypocrisy of liberals and said, liberals were the ones that throughout for the last 10 years have been calling for censorship. And suddenly, when their own starts getting censored, they start saying, hey, wait a minute, we don't like it, whatever happened to free speech. I wish he would have called out the hypocrisy from the left, because we really need that. The left needs to have a cultural change when it comes to censorship, just like the right had a culture change on it. And many have held firm to that, thank goodness, but a lot of them have not. A lot of them got brainwashed and warped into, well, when my side does it, it's okay. But we really, the left really needs that shift, and it would have been nice if Jimmy Kimmel would have helped that along. Let me also play for you this. Joe Rogan weighed in on this as well. This is what he said.
Speaking of adapting, like this whole Jimmy Kimmel situation that is happening right now.
Yeah, wild.
Very wild. Okay, first of all, the FCC is, you have to have a license to broadcast, which is kind of crazy when you think about what that means now. Because, like, what does it mean? It used to mean they used to have a license to broadcast because you were going to influence so many people. They had to make sure that you were on the up and up, right? So they had to make sure that you didn't swear. So if you had a license and you were on CBS or NBC or ABC, you could not swear, right? That was the rule. And then along came cable. And somehow or another, cable
changed the game.
Is a different thing, right? Because cable, you just... You have to pay for it, I guess, so it's different. And so then some of the channels you don't have to pay for. It used to be the only ones that swore were like HBO, where you had to pay for. And then all of a sudden it became kind of any of them, because they realized, like, hey, we don't, like FX, we can swear, guys. Like, we only don't swear because we want to think of ourselves as TV.
Right.
But HBO was like, with The Sopranos, with HBO comedy specials, in the beginning, that was a big one. You could just swear. Movies, you didn't have to bleep anything out. Just wild. And so these what you're dealing with even first of all, I definitely don't think that the government should be involved ever in dictating what a comedian can or cannot say in a monologue. That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
Now, if the problem is the companies, if they're being pressured by the government, so if that's real, and if people on the right are like, yeah, go get them, oh my God, you're crazy. You're crazy for supporting this because this will be used on you. You don't think that the fucking globalist lizard people who run the world are sitting here going, great, what do we got, 3 years? We'll wait this out. We'll wait this out. Yeah. Let them say the government should be involved in censoring people's speech. Yeah. Let them support that. Let these fucking dumbasses, because Jimmy Kimmel's a leftist, let these dumbasses think it's a good idea and we should celebrate that.
That's the most toxic shit I keep seeing online when people are like, yeah, shut them down. Now, this goes into a lot of, just to jump back.
Totally and completely nuts. And Joe Rogan is absolutely right on that. We need more people calling out the hypocrisy and pointing out that this is not the kind of country that we want to live in. We want to live in a country where the government stays out of it and doesn't pressure companies at all. Speaking of pressure, YouTube has admitted that it was pressured by the Biden administration to silence and censor people during COVID. I was one of those people. And also for election interference. Now, I luckily did not get my channel ripped off of YouTube. Certainly had it suspended a couple of times. But several people had their channels ripped off of YouTube. And YouTube has admitted that the Biden administration pressured them. And they have also said that they will be reinstating many of these channels that were taken off of YouTube for political reasons. This is the document this is from their attorneys. It's a long document. I just want to read you a little bit of it. But essentially, this is to Jim Jordan, the chairman of the Committee of the Judiciary, the U.S. House of Representatives, and Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, which is the parent company of YouTube, says part of this, they said, senior Biden administration officials, including White House officials, conducted repeated and sustained outreach to Alphabet and pressed the company regarding certain user-generated content related to the COVID-19 pandemic that did not violate its policies. While the company continued to develop and enforce its policies independently, Biden administration officials continued to press the company to remove non-violative user-generated content. As online platforms, including Alphabet, grappled with these decisions, the administration's officials, including President Biden, created a political atmosphere that sought to influence the actions of platforms based on their concerns regarding misinformation. It is unacceptable and wrong when any government, including the Biden administration, attempts to dictate how the company moderates content, and the company has consistently fought against those efforts on First Amendment grounds. So they're not admitting, this is kind of different from the Twitter files, they're not really admitting that the Biden administration definitely pressured them, but they're saying there was a political climate and we were being talked to all the time. So I don't know how that couldn't be, but it could have been that Alphabet just went along with it. So it wasn't that they were pressured, they agreed. If there was a bunch of people working in the company that agreed with the Biden administration, they might not have needed much pressure. It might have just been, well, yep, we agree. And if you're telling us to remove these channels, then we'll do it. So it might not have even been pressure. But nonetheless, the government should have been contacting them on a regular basis, telling them what they wanted them to do. They went on to say the company terminated channels for repeatedly violating its community guidelines on election integrity content through 2023 and COVID-19 content through 2024. Today, YouTube's community guidelines allow for a wider range of content regarding COVID-19 and election integrity. Reflecting the company's commitment to free expression, YouTube will provide an opportunity for all creators to rejoin the platform if the company terminated their channels for repeated violations of COVID-19 and election integrity policies that are no longer in effect. So they're going to be restoring a bunch of channels. What's interesting, I will say anecdotally from my experience, recently YouTube definitely lifted the ban on my channel. There was a shadow ban, a very obvious shadow ban on my channel for years from YouTube. And it was easy to see on the back, from the studio side. So like the back side, the back end of our, of the tech, when you're going in and you're going to post your own video, what the analytics that we see on that side, it was really, really obvious that they were shadow banning my channel. What would happen is in any given day from 2020, from mid 2020 from April of 2020, I would say, up until this January, February, so 5 years, they limited the growth of my channel significantly. So we would see, I would gain 2,000 subscribers in a day, and I would lose 2,000 subscribers in a day. And this went on for years, where even if I had a video that was a huge hit, those years I was on Rising and some of my videos got 1 million, 2 million views, it didn't matter. Joe Rogan was mentioning me on his show, didn't matter. I would gain 100 subscribers and lose 100 subscribers. And this would go on and on and on to where they allowed me to slowly creep up with like 10 subscribers a day at most. There was a glitch in the algorithm. It was like one day they reset the algorithm and they forgot. And my channel had suddenly been lifted from the shadow ban. And in 2 days or 3 days, I gained 50,000 subscribers onto my channel. So it was like they, accidentally released them onto my channel. And suddenly I was allowed these subscribers. Since they've lifted then in January or February, I received a very vague email from YouTube. Very vague email. Not saying, hey, Kim, sorry about that. We totally shadow banned you. But they basically said, hey, Kim, sorry about that. We shadow banned you for a long time and we're going to lift it. And they basically sent an email saying, we have a survey for you. Take the survey. And I go and I take the survey and the survey says, do you feel like you've been censored or limited by YouTube in any way? And you're going through, yes. And why do you think that you were censored or limited? Do you think it was, maybe content that had to do with politics? Yes. Do you feel like asking all these questions that were clearly, do you think that you were politically targeted and censored by YouTube? And how has this affected your channel? And when I got this survey, I thought, wow, okay, they're going to do something about this. Finally, we're going to be lifted, finally. And since they lifted the shadow ban on my channel, I have now been able to gain on track of what I was gaining prior to the pandemic, which is about 20,000 subscribers a month. And before that, in the early days of my channel, I was gaining about 20,000 subscribers a month and was on track until April of 2020 when they suddenly hindered the channel. They allowed it to grow. It's not like it didn't grow, but it just grew a lot slower. And just seeing the 1,000 and 1,000 out was just obvious and very strange. Having, a video that gets a lot of views and having 0 subscribers from that video is obviously, it's just like not statistically probable. So there was a lot of stuff that they were doing, and now they've suddenly lifted it, and it's obvious. The thing, however, that being said, all they've said in this is that they're going to be lifting the censorship for those that were banned for COVID-19 and election integrity conversations. But it is suspicious. There is a lot of suspicion that they are going to be doing a lot of censorship when it comes to Israel. They haven't totally yet. But there is a lot of suspicion that is going to be happening. Various rumblings, various different you always and that's the thing is like they could come out and say, yeah, we were pressured, and so we did limit for COVID-19 and this and that. But that's all they were saying. Election and integrity and COVID-19. Okay, well, what about all these other topics you're about to censor us for, and topics that are yet to be known that you're going to maybe censor us for? So it's a tricky world we're living in. There's still a lot of censorship. There's still a lot of social media company. TikTok is being acquired by Oracle, which is run by Larry Ellison, who's a giant Zionist. And so TikTok is going to start limiting the amount of pro-Palestine content because they think the world is just too pro-Palestine, right? So they're going to be doing that limiting. So I don't think this is the end of the censorship road. I think that even though Jimmy Kimmel's been restored and he says, hey, we shouldn't censor, and YouTube comes out and says, yeah, the Biden administration pressured us, and hey, we're going to be lifting the censorship on these channels, I don't think we're out of the clear. I think we're still very much in it, still very much in the battle, and it's extremely important we keep fighting on and continue to fight on when it comes to our right to free speech. It is what makes America great. It is what makes America America. It is absolutely essential that we remember that it is a fragile, fragile right that could be gone in the blink of an eye. And not only will the government take it from us, but the people, our own communities will lobby to take it from us as well. So we have to remember how precious it is, and we must guard our right to speak out. Really, we must guard it with our lives, quite frankly. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.